Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed was sworn into office in April 2018. Since then, the 43-year-old former Army intelligence officer has launched a wide program of political and economic reforms, such as ending state monopolies and allowing private sector competition in industries such as telecoms, aviation, and power. His biggest success so far was the peace deal with neighboring Eritrea, ending a nearly 20-year military stalemate following their 2-year border war. In June last year, the Ethiopian government agreed to hand over control of the disputed border town of Badme to Eritrea. Until then, Ethiopia rejected the International Boundary Commission's ruling in favor of Eritrea. Ahmed's unpredictable style isn't popular with all Ethiopians.
Most Ethiopians trust him. The only problem they have right now is they wanted the change to happen immediately. We have a lot of economic problems in this country. Although the economy is growing very fast, the amount of expenditure that's going into infrastructure has been at the expense of livelihoods.
He played a central role in the violent fight against illegal land-grabbing activities in the Oromia region 4 years ago. The government stopped a controversial scheme in 2016, but disputes continued and resulted in people being killed. That fight is seen by many as boosting Ahmed's political career. He's from the Oromo tribe, Ethiopia's largest ethnic group, which spearheaded the protests that forced his predecessor to resign. An assassination attempt 2 years ago failed to stop his development plans for Ethiopia. An activist, a military intelligence officer, a land grab opponent, an unpredictable politician, a peacemaker, and now Abiy Ahmed can add Nobel Peace Prize winner to his list of accomplishments. Dorsa Jabari, Al Jazeera.
Let's bring in Hallelujah Luli. He's a political analyst and head of Ethiopian Foreign Relations Strategic Studies. That's a political think tank. Thanks for speaking to us on the News Hour. I think I know the answer to this question, but just give me your initial reaction to this win.
Well, it was somehow expected, but the reaction, I think, was overwhelming. People are not just taking this recognition as a recognition to Abiy Ahmed as a Prime Minister of Ethiopia, but people are, if you do a proper analysis of the streets of Addis, if you look at the Twitter and Facebook sphere, people are taking this as a recognition to what the country has achieved in the past year and a half, and the resilience of the Ethiopian state and its people in realizing their ambition for an inclusive and accountable state.
You have a human rights organization, Amnesty International, saying that Prime Minister Ahmed's work is far from done, and this award should push and motivate him to tackle the outstanding human rights challenges that threaten to reverse the gains made so far. Do you think that these gains that have been made are under threat, and does Amnesty have a point?
The Ethiopian state has a very long history of authoritarianism, and a transition to democratization is going to be a very bumpy one, and it's a recognition that Abiy Ahmed has made at different occasions. What has been done in the past year and a half, I believe, are laying a very solid foundation in building independent institutions, because what Abiy Ahmed said, for example, is, he released thousands of political prisoners, but the key is not just about releasing them, but building independent institutions and independent system that will prevent the possibility of any political prisoners in the future. So it is still a work in progress, but I believe what has achieved so far in the past year and a half has been very impressive. And this win, especially, coming at this specific moment, will serve as an impetus to continue this ambitious project of democratizing the Ethiopian state and liberalizing the political space.
But Ethiopia still has a very real struggle with ethnic tensions, as well as millions of internally displaced people. How challenging is the year ahead going to be for Prime Minister Ahmed as he tackles those challenges?
Well, it's a very difficult task. He's tasked with this very difficult assignment of being inclusive and being unifying at the same time. The more you're inclusive, the possibility of having contradicting voices within will rise. But one of his, I think, flagship, his ideology so far has been, can be summed up with one maxim. It's called Meddemer. It can be roughly translated as synergy. So he's been preaching national reconciliation and cohesion among the different ethnic, linguistic, and religious groups in Ethiopia. And actually, he's made significant progress and achievement in narrowing the gap between the different interest groups in Ethiopia. Of course, we still have a long way to go in creating, in reaching a very strong and sustainable elite pact and political settlement. But I think his rhetoric has resonated with a lot of Ethiopians who want peace, reconciliation, unity, and prosperity in this country.
Okay, hallelujah, Luli. Thank you very much for speaking to us from Addis Ababa.